Timberwolves waste the game of Anthony Edwards' life. The series is tied at 2. We talk about it and break it all down on the Locked On Wolves postcast.
You are Locked On Wolves postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Oh, that was frustrating. The Wolves fall 115-107 to the Denver Nuggets. The series is tied at 2. The Wolves, with a golden opportunity, lose both games at Target Center. The series is tied. The Nuggets have the momentum, and they squeeze the life out of the Timberwolves tonight. My name's Sam Ekstrom. I'm at Sam Ekstrom on X, filling in for Luke Inman, who is somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean right now on his way on an Italian vacation. Hopefully he doesn't look at it at the score and just doesn't check his phone again during the whole trip, because it's only bad things right now. Tyler Metcalf joins us at TMetcalf11, and Andrew Dukowitz, zone coverage writer at ADukeMN, joining us. 3-man show on the postcast tonight. Plenty to get into. Not sure the Nuggets missed. I'll ask these guys if they witnessed a Nuggets miss at any point during the game. We'll talk about the cataclysmic end to the first half that just cast a pall on the rest of the festivities. Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert struggle mightily. And Anthony Edwards, massive bright spot in an otherwise dreadful game. We are brought to you in this postcast by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. All right, let's go to Tyler Metcalf for the first word. What was the reason, the number one reason the Wolves lost this game, Tyler? What was it?
Lack of attention to detail. They ended up losing by 8. That final 20 seconds of the first half, 2 turnovers. They give up an 8-point run. They missed 9 free throws on the night.
There you go.
Anthony Edwards had the game of his night. So did Denver's role players. And, a couple free throws, a little more attention to detail without, being so sloppy with the ball in really crucial moments and finishing out those kind of segments of the game, which Denver is notorious for. And they just couldn't do it. It is an absolute waste of a absolutely brilliant showing from Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, Andrew, I thought the Wolves had unbelievable effort tonight, and yet Denver just never gave him a sniff. I mean, they get within 6 in garbage time, if you will, but Denver did not let them within an arm's length from the second they took a double-digit lead.
No, I mean, role players are supposed to show up for the home team when they're at home. And it seemed like anytime the Wolves started going on a run, it would be an Aaron Gordon 3 or an Aaron Gordon floater. Christian Braun had kind of the best postseason game since last year's finals. I'm sure you guys are like me when you saw Scott Foster was crew chief for tonight. Your gut probably started to ache a little bit. This just isn't how I thought the game would go, I guess.
Yeah, and we'll get into whether we felt like the whistle was unfair one way or another. It felt like they let him play. It did not benefit the Wolves the way I thought letting them play would benefit the Wolves. Let's begin with, I don't think it is solely the reason they lose the game, but the sequence before halftime, the effort I referred to, I thought the Wolves worked their butts off in the second quarter to get that deficit down to 7. 7-point deficit, 30 seconds left in the second quarter. And this typified the night. How many shots did the Nuggets hit late in the shot clock? Well defended. 24 seconds of defense possessions. And KCP, I think it was KCP who hits the shot. His only 3 of the night to put them up 10. Edwards trying to make something happen before the buzzer turns it over. Joker with the smart outlet pass, Porter with the dunk, and then Nikhil trying to make something happen with the fast inbounds pass to half court, Murray the interception, and then in front of Kevin Harlan drains the 55-footer to suck the soul from the Timberwolves before halftime. And then from that point on, guys, the effort was still good. It's not like the Wolves were completely demoralized, but 8 points were spotted in that moment. And it was such an uphill battle. If you just take away that sequence, the second half effort would have meant so much more, Tyler.
Yeah, and you hate to rip on Ant for anything this game because he was absolutely brilliant, but you just can't turn over the ball there and then immediately give up that fast break dunk to Jokic. When you're going into half down 10 is so much different than even just 12, especially after how they cut that lead down. That 3 by KCP was huge, but it was a good look. It was a really good created shot. Jokic collapsed the defense, kicked out to an open shooter. He knocked it down. That's something they do all the time. We saw it all night. We've seen it all series. We've seen it all season. Driving to the middle, coughing the ball up, turning it over there, and then giving up the dunk is just brutal. You can't do it. You have to have the last shot in the half, and then the inbounds pass. You don't expect him to make a 55-footer, but you're at risk, and especially with the Timberwolves and the history of other teams intentionally missing free throws at the end of the game to close it out, or Cole Anthony hitting a near half quarter for the win. They kind of have a history of doing this kind of stuff, and when they get sloppy, when they get careless with it, and they're not executing every single second of that clock, things like this tend to happen to them.
Yep. Andrew, Nuggets are not a team you can spot a double-digit lead. They're just too efficient offensively. Coming back or generating any kind of run against this Nuggets team, the way they're playing right now, is next to impossible. So the defining moment, and again, not the 8-0 run maybe before halftime. You go earlier, 26-4 run for the Nuggets to take that initial 15-point lead in the game that they never relinquished. They had a 9-minute stretch where it got away from them, and then they were just chasing, and you can't do that against Denver.
Well, and that's the frustrating part is they started off so hot right off the get-go. Their energy level was there. Offensively, they were looking really well. I think there was a couple guys on the team that maybe were trying to do too much, trying to take control of the game and kind of be a hero.
Who was trying to do too much, Andrew? I can't think of a single player.
You would never.
Mr. Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
Who just, I tweeted about it during the game. Just, this is the worst possible time for 2019 Karl Anthony Towns. Hollering at the refs, the kind of look of despair, the tough hang that he's kind of cited by national people as, which, it makes sense. Mother's Day, Lord knows I'd be pressing in this game too if I were him. But, it really, I think that was kind of the turning point in the game when he started hunting for his shots and the offense got sticky, as Finch says. And it really just, like you said, you can't give up a double-digit lead to the Nuggets. They're going to find shots. And if they can't find a shot, Jokic is going to do it himself.
Yeah, a lot of cat misses in that 26-4 run. He shoots 1 for 10 in the first half, worst shooting half of his career, according to TNT. He finishes the game with 13 points, an inefficient 5 of 18, 1 of 4 from 3, a lot of forced dribble drives into traffic, a lot of tough defended shots. The Nuggets were very physical with him. And I thought that the whistle, and again, we'll talk more about this later, but I thought the swallowed whistle in this game probably benefited the Nuggets. They were really physical with Gobert, with Towns, and they got away with it for the most part, despite a little bit of Jokic foul trouble. Let's dive into that a little more. We'll talk about what the Wolves can adjust defensively and where they were deficient tonight as the Nuggets shoot the lights out for a second game in a row. That's coming up on the Locked On Wolves postcast. We're brought to you tonight by PrizePicks. It is simply the best way to play daily fantasy sports with more than 3 million members. You pick more or less than 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. March is over. April's over, but the biggest moments are still happening right now in the NBA playoffs. You can absolutely put together an entry with, you don't have LeBron anymore. You got Anthony Edwards. You got Jokic. You can find some of the stars, put together an entry, go over tonight on Jokic and Edwards, and that would have been a winning ticket. You want to play alongside some of PrizePicks' favorite players like Meek Mill, Sugar Sean O'Malley. You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community each week. It's really simple to play. You make your picks, submit your entry in less than 60 seconds. And if you want to test your skills during these NBA playoffs, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. So again, download that PrizePicks app, sign up, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Download the app, use code LOCKEDONNBA, first deposit match up to $100, and start winning today with PrizePicks. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Edwards performance. 44 points, a masterful 44, an efficient 44 on 25 shots. He got to the rim. He made jumpers, 5 of 8 three-point shooting, still had 5 assists, 5 rebounds, defended hard when asked. You cannot ask for more from Anthony Edwards. Tyler, you thought that was his worst playoff game in Game 3. Hard to dispute that. This probably his best playoff game. And for the Wolves to waste this performance, which, I mean, let's be honest, going to be tough for them to duplicate it, or for Edwards to duplicate it. That's a real kick in the gut for the Wolves to miss out on the opportunity to win when Edwards gives you what he gave you.
Yeah. Last postcast, I was underwhelmed by Ant. You know, his numbers were efficient. His final box score numbers were solid, but he wasn't aggressive. He wasn't decisive. And that we got the exact opposite tonight. He was absolutely brilliant. Everything he did confidently. He did quickly, which is the big thing against this Denver defense, where if you're going to let them get set and kind of do what they want to do, they're going to make things difficult for you. They don't have a ton of rim protection, although, you know, the Timberwolves at rim shooting numbers would say otherwise tonight. But being able to attack those rotating defenders, getting to his spots, getting to the rim a ton, 8 free throw attempts tonight, 0 last game. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. He was brilliant. He did not look like a 22-year-old tonight.
Andrew, your thoughts on the Ant masterpiece that was for naught?
I mean, he's 3 years away from being 3 years away from being in his prime. I mean, the fact that he's doing this at 22, I mean, it's now he's hitting those checkpoints of, you're seeing him on graphics where it's him, Luka, LeBron, and that's it. I guess if there's a positive takeaway, it is Ant. I mean, he is proving that he can lead an offense by himself when everyone else is struggling. He can keep a team in a game against the defending champions by himself. And I mean, what more is there to say other than an all-around phenomenal game?
Ant played 45 minutes tonight.
Yeah.
Emptied the tank. Now, explain this one to me. You've got an efficient Naz Reid game, 5 of 6, 11 points. And we talked about Towns' miserable night. Towns plays 38 minutes. Naz only plays 17. Let's kick it back to you, Andrew. They tightened the rotation. Kyle Anderson only played 6 minutes in this game. They basically roll with 7 guys, and Naz plays half the minutes of Towns on a night where Naz was good and Cat was bad. Surprising that we didn't see more Naz in this one.
I think everyone would have liked Naz to play more. I think it's hard when you have Karl Anthony Towns, who he gets introduced last. He's the longest tenured Timberwolves. He makes $40-something million. If you bench him for the entire second half for Naz Reid and Kyle Anderson, do you lose him for the series? Because he's had good moments. It's just tough, because if you do bench him and this is an emotional night for him and he's not able to lock back in for the next game, then I mean, you have a 6-7 man rotation instead of an 8 or a 9, and that's just tough.
Timberwolves bench only got production from Naz for the most part. Nikhil was rough, 1 of 7, 0 of 4 from 3. Anderson didn't score. On the other hand, Denver's bench goes 8 of 14. Holiday, Jackson, Brown. I want to say Braun because of Luke Braun with Locked On Podcast Network. Brown, back-breaking shots. I mean, the Nuggets role players, and that includes Gordon, honestly. Gordon almost pitched a perfect game, 11 of 12. Back-breaking shots right when it felt like the Wolves had momentum at multiple junctures, Tyler, during this game. Unbeatable shooting by the Nuggets, and their bench, which was a weakness coming into this series, I think has held its own big time the last two.
Yeah, and the bench units, the non-Jokic minutes are when this Timberwolves team is supposed to pull away and kick the crap out of them. They lost those minutes by 5 points tonight. It's inexcusable. You can't do it. Their complete inability to punish them without a center on the floor is shocking for a team with 3 centers who played 20-plus minutes a night. It was just a total lack of execution, which is really shocking too, because they dominated the rebounding category. They should have won this game. When we look at all the different categories that they won, different areas that they succeeded, and then you just look at the absurd shooting numbers by Denver, and you just can't beat it when those 4 guys in Gordon, Brown, Jackson, and Holiday are shooting the way that they are. When we look at the mid-range, Denver shot 62.5% from long mid-range, just over 63% overall in the mid-range. That's in the 97th percentile. You can't do it. And then you look at Minnesota just at the rim, they missed 10 shots at the rim. It's that's all it is. Denver executed at an extremely high level. There were really good looks there for Minnesota all night long, and they didn't do it. They didn't take advantage. Brutal game from the Timberwolves bench. Kyle Anderson was unplayable tonight. Minus 18 in 6 minutes. It's tough. That's really, really tough.
Okay, speaking of not punishing the Nuggets without a center, got to talk about Rudy. Timberwolves peak with Rudy out in game 2. We're not going to go down that road. We're not going to ask if the Timberwolves are better without him. They look really, really good. Rudy in games 3 and 4 has left a lot to be desired. Plus minus tonight for Rudy, still a +9.
Yeah.
Best on the team. Doesn't pass the eye test, but somehow Rudy Gobert a net positive in this game, which felt hard to believe. I think the 5 turnovers is probably what's influencing me, but I see him indecisive on defense. I see him getting backed down too easily by Jokic. So maybe the question isn't what was wrong with Rudy Gobert in this game. I mean, I think we saw like the clumsiness on offense, the missed free throws. That's not new. The question is, what do the Wolves do against Jokic? Because Gobert one-on-one with the MVP didn't seem to really be the formula tonight. Andrew, thoughts on Gobert and the defensive adjustments they need to make against Nikola Jokic?
Well, wasn't there a meme a couple of years ago of Gobert saying, like, I'm locking you up, and Jokic turning to him and being like, I have 42? That's kind of been how it's been every time Gobert covers Jokic. Jokic just can back him down and hit that little, like, baby hook over him kind of at will. I think their best strategy is still Cat and letting Gobert roam, but if it's going to be a night where Cat's off defensively, you can just almost like taste the animosity between the two of them. Or maybe it's not animosity, but you can just, it's palpable how when Cat's having a weird night, Gobert doesn't trust him to stay in his spots. And I think Gobert then gets out of position, and it's almost just like he doesn't know what to do. He needs to trust everyone. And I think that goes back to Naz Reid. I think when Gobert and Naz Reid were in there and they were running that like huge lineup with Jaden, and I think Cat was in there too. But when Naz Reid is kind of that weak side defender or guarding Jokic, I think Gobert just has a lot more faith in it and looks fine. When he loses faith in his teammates, though, it kind of all goes out the window.
And Aaron Gordon, when he shoots that well from the outside, as he has in games 3 and 4, it is probably a little harder to imagine, okay, well, or Gobert's going to have to be the one to close out on that. Gordon has made them pay. I mean, because I think you think of the Nuggets, you think of Murray, think of Jokic, and you think of Porter and KCP spotting up, and you hope that Gordon comes back to earth. There are no, like, KCP had a bad game. Everybody else on the Nuggets was well above average tonight. So good, so efficient, timely shots, never let the Wolves get back in this basketball game. we'll continue the breakdown in the postcast, and we'll turn the page to Game 5 as well as the series shifts back to Denver on Tuesday. It's Locked On Wolves postcast. It's brought to you by FanDuel tonight. Got to imagine that the series odds are now in favor of the Nuggets. You probably could have gotten a juicy price on Denver when they were down 2-0. Now the series is tied. You can make all the wagers on the NBA and NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball as well at FanDuel. Bring home a big win of your own. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, futures, and so much more. Get the series odds up to the minute on every NBA playoff series. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every playoff shot count, whether that's a Jamal Murray heave or maybe you're watching those hockey games with some hockey overtime winners. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, T-Wolves lose again, 115-107. Myself, Sam Ekstrom, Tyler Metcalf, Andrew Dukowitz. I'll be filling in for Luke on his Italian vacation, by the way. The Postmaster General hopes he has Wolves postcast to cover when he comes back from overseas. But Luke, if you're watching this back, hope you had a safe travel, man. We're holding the fort down. T-Wolves lose by 8. Series is tied at 2. So now they go back to Denver. Road teams won every game in the series. And I think if there's any solace in this, Tyler, the Timberwolves have played as well as they possibly could at some point in this series, Game 2, and they won by a ton. The Nuggets played as well as they possibly could and won by a ton in Game 3. So obviously we've seen, like, when the best version of each team shows up, we know what can happen. What will happen when we go to Game 5? I don't know. This is sports. It's random. I don't know, like, what headspace the Nuggets will be in, what headspace the Wolves will be in. But the Wolves feel like the more desperate team now, going back to Denver. And the psyche might shift for whatever reason. But do you have belief, Tyler, that now going back on the road, that the Timberwolves can somehow right this ship?
Yeah, of course. And we saw them do it twice already, and just in the series, they were one of the 3 best, if not the best team in the West all season. They're a legit championship contender. And I really do think that the winner of the series is going on to the finals and will probably very easily could be the finals favorite, depending on how healthy Boston looks. Discussion for a different day. But they got to figure out what they're doing on defense, because they're panicking way too much, and they have to, like we saw tonight. The big reason Aaron Gordon was 11 of 12 was, he knocked down some brutal mid-range fadeaways and some corner threes, but guys like Gobert and Cat were way too eager to go on doubles with Jokic, and you just can't do that, because the second he sees you coming, he's going to take an extra escape dribble, pull you out another step, and then Aaron Gordon's going to be there for the dunk. And we saw that 8-9 times tonight, and that's why he got up to 27 points. So the defensive discipline has to be so much stronger. And if Jokic starts going off, then he starts going off and getting his points, and you can't panic. You can't overhelp. You can't just send double after double after double, because he's going to carve you up. And that's when guys like Holiday and Gordon and Christian Brown start doubling the points that they should be getting.
Yeah, I really did think that the perimeter defense was quite good in this game. Now, the Nuggets hit some shots with Wolves in their grill, but 62 points from Gordon and Jokic combined. So the issue is clearly in the paint. You are the Timberwolves. You are the biggest team in the NBA if you want to be. You can't give up 62 points in the paint. You can't let Aaron Gordon do that. There needs to be a better plan. They've got, another quick turnaround to make these adjustments. Can they do it, Andrew?
Oh, yeah, I think they can do it. I mean, again, they proved that they have success against Denver. They made adjustments as the Sun series went on, and those ones worked out pretty well for the Wolves. I think Finch and Norrie will have probably a heart-to-heart conversation about, having who Cat's guarding. They tried to make some adjustments even this game that seemed like they were working at times. I noticed that, like, McDaniels was just picking up whoever was bringing the ball up court. Conley was on Jamal Murray quite a bit, and the perimeter defense was good. So, if Gordon's going to score 25, I don't think the Wolves are going to win a lot of games, but part of it has to be he just doesn't shoot 10 for 11, which is an unfortunate way to look at it, but you got to play the percentages sometimes. And Gordon's going to get open corner threes. We just got to kind of hope he's not going to hit them too.
Well, Justin Holiday, too, has had an out-of-body experience in this series. He's been ludicrously good. It's just up and down the lineup. The Nuggets have gotten contributions these last 2 games. Now, the Wolves haven't lost 3 games in a row all year. So now you're going to Denver. You got to avoid losing 3 games in a row because Game 6 closeout situation back at Target Center, you don't have the confidence. You don't have the swagger in this building anymore. The Nuggets have robbed you of that. Wolves have to do something to right the ship. And I fear, my fear is that Edwards was supposed to be the stopper, and he was the stopper in this game. He gave you what you needed to get a home win. Can he do it again? Is that a duplicatable performance? I don't know about the outside shooting. I think that if he has that downhill mentality, though, Tyler, if he can get to the rim like he did, and can he get a whistle too? I know this was a Scott Foster game. How many free throws did he shoot in this game? I got to look up the box score.
He was up to 8 tonight.
He did get up to 8. A lot of that was late in the game. He goes 7 of 8 from the line. It felt again like it wasn't a great Ant whistle, and he still was finishing some of these drives. He was taking a lot of punishment. 45 minutes again, to reiterate. So can Ant do this again? That's the question. And he's scored 43. He scored 44 tonight. So we're seeing him blossom into a put the team on his back kind of player. The question is, can he get just a little bit of help, right? Like you got to have that from Ant, and then you're going to need someone else. And tonight it was arguably nobody. You needed McDaniels to pick you up. You needed Conley to pick you up. And the Wolves didn't get any supplementary performances besides what Ant gave them tonight. And I don't think it was a selfish 44, Tyler. No. I think he gave his teammates plenty of opportunities to make plays, and they didn't make them.
Yeah, and it was a masterclass by him tonight. And it was just, he got wherever he wanted to, and he's really been able to do that the entire series. No one on this Denver team can guard him, let alone stop him. KCP's not strong enough. He's not big enough. Aaron Gordon's not quick enough. Nikola Jokic has zero intention of stopping anything when Ant gets downhill and gets to the rim. So I know it's exhausting. I know it's hard, but you just have to do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, because you just have to kill him. But with that rim pressure, and then eventually Jokic is going to have to step. And when he does, then that frees up Rudy for either lobs or tip dunks or, kickouts, because Denver's not making any secondary rotations on these drives. So the spot up shooters, the wide open corner threes that Nikhil has been used to, they're not as wide open anymore. And we're seeing that with his shooting kind of falling off here. Some of the shoulder injuries might be playing a factor too. I don't know. But every time they go downhill, the only guys involved are typically the primary defender and then Jokic, who's just kind of playing Ole defense and swiping at the ball, hoping to get a deflection. So it's exhausting. It's really hard, but you have to pressure the rim constantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like this comment from Ryan Randall. Andrew, let me toss this off you. Ryan points out, trying to bully Denver isn't a recipe for success. It looked cool in game 2. Games 3 and 4 put Minnesota in foul trouble. If you want your best players on the floor, stop fouling. A lot of fouls in this game, 40 feet, 50 feet from the basket. I don't know if the Wolves necessarily found themselves in serious foul trouble tonight. I can't really think of anyone who got played off the floor at any point. So I don't know if it cost them. And Denver didn't shoot like a ludicrous amount of free throws either. So I guess I'd defer to you. Do you think that their aggression got them in trouble tonight? Is that some of the reason there were openings in that defense inside? Or is that just how the Wolves should keep playing, is win and lose with that physicality?
I think you said it. The fouls 40 feet away from the basket are frustrating. I mean, they break up the momentum. They break up the flow of the game. The Wolves, I think, are a very flow, beautiful game, Golden State Warriors-esque, move the ball around type of offense. And when you're getting a foul 5 seconds after a bucket at half court, it just it makes the game choppy. And I don't think that helps the Wolves. That being said, I do think trying to be physical, especially with like Jamal Murray when he's bringing it up, even Jokic when he's bringing it up, just to kind of, it goes vice versa, where it's a lot of effort for Ant to go to the paint all the time. It's also a lot of effort for Murray to bring the ball up with McDaniels putting a hand on his hip, or Jokic bringing the ball up with Cat shadowing him. So I think they got to keep the aggression. It's just also Jaden gets such a tough whistle, and Cat as well. Anytime he's in space, they're going to get the foul called on him. It's just a track record at this point.
I mean, Jaden twice, hands are up, trying to shuffle along, just a slight bump, and he gets dinged for it. I do prefer the way the Wolves are operating, though. They are forcing Denver to cross the timeline with 16, 17 seconds on the clock a lot. And again, Denver hit back-breaking tough shots at the shot clock buzzer. How many times? It felt like 4, 5, 6 times in the game. Have to go back and watch. I don't know if that's sustainable. Now, I said this after game 3, and I was wrong. I don't know if Denver can sustain this shooting-wise for another 2 games. I think they'll come back to earth. If they shoot 50%, which is still good, that's still like a 10% drop-off. I mean, 60% shooting in the first 3 quarters the last 2 games. That's absurdly good. I think the Wolves need to stick to their plan and continue what they're doing, maybe tweak a couple things, tweak the matchups. But I like, again, the defense crossing half court, the full court stuff. I actually like it. I don't think that was the problem tonight. Couple odds and ends I want to clean up, then we'll get out of here. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the postcast. We're here after every game. Place to hang out, Locked On Sports Minnesota, after every single game. Does Rudy Gobert get fined, yes or no, for the money sign that the cameras caught him making? Tyler?
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. Yep. After his 5th foul.
I'm sick of this. That's exhausting. Probably.
That's a pickle. That's a pickle for the NBA, because
they didn't find Murray.
Because Murray gets $100,000 for the money sign and throwing things. Gobert gets $100,000 for just the money sign. So what do you do now if Gobert again for the money sign? I guess if he doesn't double down with last time he doubled down with the comments after the game, if you remember, he was pretty vociferous, basically saying, I think that gambling is an issue with NBA refs. If you don't say that after this game, you probably keep the money.
Yeah, if he's quiet about it, and 100,000, I believe, is the max fine they're allowed to issue. So I if he's quiet post game, maybe he sneaks away, but they've already hit him
got
once.
Diapers to buy now, man.
Exactly.
You got to keep that money in your pocket. Final thoughts from you, Andrew. Any odds and ends or just parting words to send us out on?
All of this went wrong, and the Wolves still lost by 8. I mean, if there's any encouragement that this could go a different way over the next 3 games, they had a terrible Cat game. They were undisciplined. They didn't shoot well. The other team shot lights out, and all of their role players showed up, and it was still a competitive game with 3 or 4 minutes left. They really do got a chance in it. It's not all doom and gloom yet.
Series is even, going back to Denver. Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday would be the next 3 games in this series, and we'll have it covered at Locked On Sports Minnesota. I'm Sam Ekstrom. That's Tyler Metcalf, and that is Andrew Dukowitz. Check him out at zonecoverage.com. Thanks a lot for watching and engaging. You can listen to us on the Locked On Wolves podcast feed. Ben Beacon will have more reaction to this game on Locked On Wolves. Thanks so much once again. Talk to you after Game 5.